because Lilo and Stitch is the big noise. It is already making a ton of money. So going back to the conversation that we were having in the last couple of weeks about Disney being what I call creatively bankrupt and just re-releasing everything that they've already done that they knows works. And once you have numbers like this, because Lilo and Stitch has been out about 2 weeks and it is already on its way to making $500,000 at the box
Wow.
office. So once you have results like that, there's going to be somebody sitting in the Disney office going, "Well, yeah, of course this works. What else can we remake? What else can we remake?"
Aristocats.
Oh yeah, that's coming. I'm surprised they haven't gone to Aristocats yet. But yeah, the thing is like, oh, but I think people were thinking that the remake thing had died down with Snow White because Snow White didn't have that good a it didn't have that good performance, financial performance. But no, don't worry, Lilo and Stitch was ready there to pick up the slack and then some. So the film, if anybody knows the story of Lilo and Stitch, as with Disney remakes, it's exactly the same story. You start off and you meet this sort of like, what they call this galactic empire thing. There's a whole bunch of aliens in space and spaceships, and it turns out that one of them, called Jumba, has been secretly working on genetic experiments that he hasn't told anybody about. And they finally find out when he gets to experiment 626. So there's this thing called experiment 626, which they go, "Oh my God, it's an abomination. You are hereby banned from ever doing science. We're going to lock you up in jail, and we're going to sort of like banish this creature that you've created." This creature is Stitch, and Stitch is created to destroy. That's what his thing is. His whole raison d'etre is to destroy stuff and to cause chaos. And so, as they're trying to banish him, he does his thing, causes chaos, almost blows up the spaceship is in, steals one of the spacecrafts and escapes. But he's going towards Earth, and they're like, "Oh, well, he's going towards Earth. He can't survive in water. That planet is 95% water." But wouldn't you know it, he happens to land on a tiny bit of a tiny bit of land called Hawaii. And so he lands on Hawaii. They go, "Oh my God, he's there. We need to go get him back." So they send his creator and another guy who are aliens down to Earth to go get him. Meanwhile, when he crash lands, he meets up with a girl called Lilo, who is kind of like your typical sort of little kids movie girl who doesn't have that much friends, gets bullied and everything like that, and wishes upon a star one night that all she wanted was just a friend who really likes her for her. Q Stitch, through shenanigans, she thinks he's a dog. They end up getting home. Stitch destroys a whole bunch of stuff. The thing ends, and everybody learns a lesson. And the big one is Ohana. Ohana being a Hawaiian word which means family. And the big line from Lilo and Stitch is Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind. Now, I don't think there isn't they've updated some things from the original thing. Like there's a bit where Lilo and Stitch escape on what in the original was like a trike with like push pedals. Now it's like an electric powered tiny sort of like toy car that they take off a kid and everything like that. But it's pretty much the same thing. They update a couple of things. They give Lilo's sister Nani more agency, so she isn't just looking after Lilo the whole time. She has a whole storyline about how she has dreams of her own, but she can't think about what she's going to do with the dreams because her sister is there. But if they have this Ohana thing and found this, can she actually go and follow her own dreams because their parents are dead and all that kind of stuff? Because this is a Disney movie, so of course their parents are dead. So, like, that's just what happens in Disney movies. Parents die. Deal with it. And yeah, and that is pretty much the storyline. And this I watched it with my daughters, as I said. We were in a pretty packed cinema. It was a whole bunch of parents with a whole bunch of kids. A whole bunch of them showed up with their own Stitch toys, with their own Stitch shirts, which showed you why Disney made this film again, because Stitch is one of their most marketable characters because people love Stitch, come on, he is adorable. He's adorable, and I have to admit that the effects in this film are actually really good because usually when you have a live action sort of like computer animation a hybrid, I'm always looking for the join, and it's usually when people hold on to something. If you ever see the Smurfs, I remember there's a scene in the Smurfs where Neil Patrick Harris. Hang on, has everyone just frozen?
Yeah, so
Hello,
I would
hello.
say, yeah,
Of
It's
you're
course,
not,
it
back.
it's
was.
not my end, Tosin. It's got to be your end
No, no,
because
that was definitely my end. That was
oh,
definitely my end. I'm getting worried that one of my daughters is playing with a router.
oh.
But that was definitely my end because I realized that all of a sudden the timer had stopped. The timer had stopped and I was like, oh good Lord, they're frozen now.
There
Yeah.
he
Yes. Essentially, as I suspected, one of my daughters had found the router and pulled the plug out. Aquia found the router and pulled the plug out, so obviously I just went away. Anyway, I think I was talking about Lilo and Stitch and everything, and I was saying that okay, it's a Disney remake. The thing doesn't change. The big thing I would say about this is that the effects are really, really good because I remember that in the Smurfs, I remember there was a bit where Neil Patrick Harris is supposed to be carrying a Smurf in his hand, and you can just see that there's nothing in his hands. But in this, even though Stitch is computer totally animated, you can't really see the joy when people hug him or anything like that. And so I think that's actually really good. They've put a lot of money and they put a lot of time and a lot of effort into making a very good live action facsimile of an animated cartoon. So it's good because the original Lilo and Stitch is good. But is it better in animation? Yeah. The only it's better in animation, and the only good thing about this is the fact that you get to see Hawaiian people on screen, and you don't get to see Hawaiian people in Hawaii doing Hawaiian culture that often. And I think that is about the one redeeming factor about the film. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. So 3 out of 5 for Lilo and Stitch live action remake.